بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to today's broadcast. This is 28th of September 2021, and this is broadcast number 258 in our series Reflections on the Holy Quran. These days we are discussing chapter 2, verse 93, and this is the second broadcast in that series. Just to remind you that these broadcasts are brought to you by the Lahore Ahmadiyya Association or movement or community, which was established by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. He taught us that although other people bring a prophet after the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because the Quran says the Holy Prophet was the seal of the prophets, and the Holy Prophet said it means there is no prophet after me. So now no prophet can come, an old one or a new one. However, God will raise reformers amongst the Ummah from time to time when reform is needed. And naturally, that will mean that there'll be some disagreements and differences and so on. But none of that means that people have the right to call each other heretics or kafirs or out of fold of Islam, because the Holy Prophet said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima that you are a heretic, then it is the person saying it who's closer to heresy. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also taught that although people say that some prophetic revelations such as Ayah Rajam and Surah Walayat have been missed out from the Holy Quran, in fact the Holy Quran is complete. Nothing is missing from it. And some Muslims say that some verses of the Holy Quran are abrogated, but he taught that no verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. He stressed that jihad is a duty of every Muslim. Jihad is a duty of every Muslim. But jihad as defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, while returning from fighting, the Holy Prophet said that Muslims were returning from the minor struggle, the minor jihad, to the major struggle. And that major struggle, he said, is with our own selves, with our greed and envy and pride and whatever it is. So as I said, today we are going to continue our chat about chapter 93, verse 93 of chapter 2. Al-Baqarah, or in English, the cow. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ أخذنا ميثاقكم ورفعنا فوقكم الطور خذوا ما آتيناكم بقوة واسمعوا قالوا سمعنا وعصينا وأشربوا في قلوبهم العجل بكفرهم قل بئس ما يأمركم به إيمانكم إن كنتم mu'mineen. And when we made a covenant with you, this is Allah addressing the Israelites, and raised the mountain above you, take hold of that which we have given you with firmness and obey. They said, we hear and disobey, and they were made to imbibe the love of the calf into their hearts on account of their disbelief. Say, evil is that which your faith bids you, if you are believers. So today we are going to talk about 3 words, I hope. وَرَفَعْنَا and فَوْقَكُمْ and أَطُّورٍ. So let's turn to our notes and see what we can find. The first word we said is وَرَفَعْنَا, and wa, of course, is a conjunction, it's a connecting word. And the word itself has the triliteral root ra, fa, ain. And this occurs in the Holy Quran 29 times, and with 6 different meanings, or with 6 different forms. 22 times is rafa'a, and 3 times as marfu'at. And then once as marfu, once as rafi'at, and once as rafi, and once as rafi. So it means raise. So let's have a look at and see what that means. There we are. And so this word can mean that you take something physical, and you lift it up. So that is for something physical. For example, well, earlier on, a verse of the Holy Quran, verse 63 of this chapter says, وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ, and we raised. This is physically raised. Or about Allah, it is said, Allahul Lazi Rafa Samawati bi Ghairi Amadin Tarawnaha. Chapter 13, verse 2. That God raised the heavens above you and it stands there without any pillars, without any support. But, and this is really like any language. In English, we say, you're raising kids or you're raising a wall because you are physically making the wall go higher. And the Holy Quran uses the same terminology. For example, in chapter 2, verse 127, it says, وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ. And when Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was raising the foundations. But that is for physical things. But then you have chapter 94, verse 4, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, and we raised your mention. And then sometimes it means making someone superior to others. وَرَفَعَ بَعْضَهُمْ فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ دَرَجَاتٍ. Chapter 6, verse 166. And some we raised above others. That doesn't mean that if there are 6 people sitting on chairs in a row, then some of them will be elevating or levitating, should we say, in air, defying gravity. But it means that status. It may be that some have jobs which are higher jobs, or some are richer or whatever. Narfa'u darajatim man nasha. Chapter 12, verse 76. Whoever we want, we raise their status, their darajat. And then we come to, of course, a very controversial verse of the Holy Quran. It's been made controversial. It's simple enough. Bal rafa'ahu Allahu ilayhi. Chapter 4, verse 158. And God raised him. Now, this is the dictionary I'm using here is not an empty dictionary. He says here Rafa means raising bodily to heaven. Rafa can mean, not does mean. Rafa can mean bodily raising. This is about Jesus. And it can also mean that he honored him. So you can see that this non-empty dictionary is putting both possibilities forward, that it can mean physically raising or it can mean raising someone's dignity. Because you remember, the Jews were making all manner of allegations against Jesus, against Hazrat Maryam, Nauzubillah, that, Jesus is not legitimate and all this kind of thing. So, so in response, God is saying in the Holy Quran that God will raise your dignity. They're trying to dishonor you. God will honor you. Let's have a look to see if there's anything more we can get from this word. So yes, I mean, an important thing to remember, a number of important things about this is, for example, the same expression is used for Idris, Hazrat Idris, who was another prophet, in chapter 16, verse 57, I think it is. And it says the same thing. وَرَفَعْنَاهُ مَكَانًا عَلِيًّا. And we raised Idris. So what does that mean? We raised him. God also took him up to heavens and so on. No, everyone agrees that it means that Allah raised his status. So if Rafa for Hazrat Idris can be raising his status, then why can't it be the same thing for Jesus? But there's an important thing we must remember, that when we talk about raising Jesus up to heavens physically, God says, I raised him to me. Does that then mean that, up in heavens there is somewhere where God lives? You're limiting God to a particular place, which is against the teachings of the Holy Quran. Elsewhere, the Holy Quran says, God, in the Holy Quran, God says that I'm closer to you than your life were. So, if God is closer to us in that sense, does that mean that Jesus is also sitting in everyone's neck? No, it doesn't. Because when you're taking a physical thing and you're saying that we're physically moving it, it's going to be physically moved to another physical place. And God doesn't live in a physical place. Here is this pen, and I say, okay, I'm raising this pen and I'm putting it on that shelf over there. I'm physically lifting it. But where is it going? Because it's a physical thing, it's going to a physical place. But where the word is applied to Jesus, it does not mean physically lifting him or raising him. It means, as I said, honoring him. Honoring him because he was being dishonored by the people to whom he was sent. If you read the testaments, you see that they not only conspired and connived against Jesus, they reported him to Pilate. And when Pilate said, he's an innocent person, why do you want me to kill him? And symbolically, he had a pitcher and someone brought out, and he said, I wash my hands of the blood of this innocent person. And the Jews cried out, let his blood be on our hands. And this was something that Christians used for centuries, even millennia, to actually persecute the Jews, that they killed the Son of God and so on. So, you can't have more humiliation than that. And then, he's made to carry his own cross. And, he's made to wear a crown of thorns, and he's whipped and lashed and ridiculed and abused and so on. So you can't get more humiliation than that. And God is saying, okay, they tried to humiliate him, but I'm the one who ultimately honors people. I will honor him. I'll raise his dignity. So with that, let's go to the next word, which is what is it? Fawqahu. and its root is fa, wa, qaf, and it occurs in the Holy Quran 43 times with three different meanings, in three different forms. 41 times as fawq, and then afaq and fawaq. So it means to overcome, above someone, also means delay, overpower above something else and someone. So it's used where time, place, number, quantity, and also dignity and station. In Urdu, we have, fawqiyat, superiority. Usko us par fawqiyat hai. He is superior to him. And the word comes from this, fawq, literally. And here it is, says, وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ, chapter 2, verse 63, earlier on. And Mount Tur was raised over you. I'll continue to use the terminology of the Quran as far as that mountain is concerned, as you will see why in the when we get to the next word. Min fawqihim dhulalum minan nari, chapter 39, verse 16. And above them will be a ceiling of fire. So this is physically above them. Oh, what have I done? What have I done? I just messed up my notes. Right. Obviously, it's the antonym of below, above and below. And it also means lowly in the sense of humiliation. It also is used to indicate more or less in numbers. Like in chapter 4, verse 11, it's talking about girls. Fawqathna tain, girls, two or more. And of course, physically being something big or small, as in chapter 2, verse 26, earlier on we saw when, God talked about giving examples. وَسَلَمَّا بَعُودَ فَمَا فَوْقَهَا. And it's up to him what example he uses of a mosquito or something bigger. So, and then in a religious sense, God says, وَرَفَعْنَا بَعْضُهُمْ فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ. Some were given prominence, superiority to others. And then again, I suppose it's religious sense. We're talking about hereafter. وَالَّذِي نَتَّقَوْا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, chapter 2, verse 212. And those who are muttaqi, وَالَّذِي نَتَّقَوْا, those who are good, righteous. Then the last day, they will be higher in degree in station than others. فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, chapter 3, verse 55. Superior to the deniers. And then, of course, in being stronger, overpowering in a physical sense. من قوم فرعون وإنا فوقهم قاهرون, chapter 7, verse 127. And God, talking about the pharaohs, says, without doubt, I will overpower him. I'm superior to him. فوقهم. So let's see if there is something else, some other meaning. Al-Faik, that is the best part of something. And for example, Tawaffaqa ala qawmihi. It means that in status, he became higher, above his people, his nation, and so on. So, I mean, a lot of these words, when I read them, I think it must be very easy for people who speak Urdu and so on to understand. Because a lot of these words like this, faik and so on, these words are commonly used in Urdu as well. And the next one, word Aktur. Now, here it is used as the name of a mountain, but there is a debate and dispute about whether it means or whether it is the name of one mountain or for a chain of mountains, like the Himalayas. That's not one mountain. K2 is a part of Himalayas. That's one mountain. Mount Everest is a part of Himalayas. That's another mountain. So there is some debate about whether this word refers to one single mountain or a chain of mountains. That's one thing. And it is actually a word. Its root is wa, and ra, and it occurs in the Holy Quran 11 times. 10 times as a noun, tur, and once as atwar. And so let us have a look. As I said, that there is debate about what it means, but we can see that Quran, it is used. For example, it says Wature wa kitabim mustur, chapter 2, verse 201. And people translate that is Allah swears by the Mount Tur. Wama kunta pijani bit tur, chapter 28, verse 46. You weren't at the Tur at that time. But then we also have a Tur Sinina, chapter 95, verse 3. So what does that mean? Or you have وَنَادَيْنَاهُ مِنْ جَانِبِ الطُّورِ الْأَيْمَنِ. Chapter 19, verse 52. And we called them to the mountain. So, but especially in chapter 71, verse 14, وَقَدْ خَلَقَكُمْ أَطْوَارٍ. And people say atwar here means stages. And they talk about that, creation, because it's talking about creation. خَلَقَكُمْ, he created you by stages. And then the people mention other verses of the Holy Quran, and that, look, this stage is mentioned here and that stage is mentioned there, and so on. So I think our time for the broadcast is coming to an end. So I will take my leave of you with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, regardless of your religion or your sect or your nationality or your color or whatever else, may Allah keep the whole of humanity safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.